Healing Step to Wellness. I'm Dr. J,
I'm May.
your trusted guide to whole person health, one step
And one bite at a time.
at a time. Today, we have the pleasure to
Pleasure.
introduce another president, the former president and first lady from the Navajo Nation, Jonathan Ness and Phefelia Ness. Welcome you both to our podcast today.
Thanks for having us back on the show, and a lot of good things coming out of your area, especially the symposium and gala that we all attended a few weeks ago.
Right. Since you bring it up, let's talk about the symposium first. What do you think about the symposium?
I always enjoy going there. That's the second time I've been to that event, and it's always nice to see the different presentations. Just everything from just a whole. I would say it's more targeted towards holistic health, so we get to hear from just different factors that affect our overall health. But really, the nutrition piece is a huge part of it, and I always enjoy that.
What was a big highlight was to recognize the work that you and the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine have been doing as well, and recognizing our very good friend, Dr. Neil Bernard, and his work there as well. And it was a special week, and it was a special gala for all of us.
Well, thank you very much for acknowledging that. And we waited for a long time to have the perfect moment, especially to have both of you at the gala to honor the work from Dr. Barnard and PCRM. And I also, on that subject, I also try to find the culture of the Navajo Nation about the precious gift that you presented to Dr. Barnard. Would you please share that with us and explain to us all this, the meaning behind that?
Right, absolutely. Well, in our culture, when we recognize and honor someone, we take something personal that we have, and we gift them, or we honor them, I should say. And I had a necklace that was handed down to me by my wife, and wearing that in many occasions, and I felt that as a leader, former leader of the largest tribe in the country, and the work that Dr. Bernard has been doing, not only with the Navajo Nation, but a lot of tribal nations throughout the country, it was an honor for me to, give him a necklace, and they call that Haja, Naja, Naja, and it's a symbol of strength and protection. And so I took it off during the ceremony. I put it on him, and I've done that in many occasions to many leaders, world leaders, giving a necklace, and that's just in our way of life, honoring someone that has helped you personally, or people. And of course, Dr. Bernard has helped many throughout the country, if not all throughout the world.
I see. So since you gifted Dr. Barnard your precious necklace, then do you have another one that actually protect you as well at this point?
Well, here on Navajo, that happens often. Leaders giving other
The
leaders something personal to them, and so I'm sure if I do some good stuff, maybe Phefelia will give me another necklace. But we'll see how that goes.
Oh, okay.
Right.
We can discuss that
So
after.
so he's making it sound like he doesn't have any others. He does. And people gift him. Like a lot of the time he does get gifted items. So
Oh,
Okay.
oh, so so special. Well, also, I would like to acknowledge both of your presentation at our conference on that day too. And given a very short time frame, like 45 minutes only, you actually got only maybe 30 minutes to present, but people really tune in and they still remember what you say, and that really resonate with a lot of people. In that such a short presentation time, you did cover a lot of things, such as you cover about the healing, and the food, sovereignty,
Mhm.
and also involved with the indigenous wisdom and how that also incorporate with the lifestyle medicine that you have um, you know, brought into the your community with maybe 10 years of the collaboration with the PCRM. And that is such a phenomenal story that I never tire of hearing your story again and again, which is a great example model for the other community because normally people they wonder about where should I start. So, would you like to kind of a highlight for where you came from, and then also to share with us what your effort it's the work that you are focusing on and moving for the future your vision.
go ahead. We start with your story.
Well, I grew up on the Navajo Nation without both of us, really. Both of us growing up on the Navajo Nation without any running water or electricity. Uh, we grew our own foods. I remember as a child, as a young person, fields of corn, squash, watermelon, beans, and uh, as a young person, that was one season that we thought it was not fun, right? It was hard work
Mm,
being in the fields, and it gets pretty warm here in Arizona,
mm,
and we do have those seeds
mm,
that have been handed down from generation to generation,
mm,
and very resilient seeds, so you don't need much water. But during the summers, we would be, taking care of the fields, hard work, and learned that hard work at a very young age. Of course, without uh, uh, running water or electricity, hauling water for our domestic use, and hauling water for our livestock. We did have livestock, uh, and you know, came out of a rural setting and took on the challenge by our elders to go to school and get an education. And we went to the universities close by, Northern Arizona University, got our education. And the other challenge that our elders would say is to come home, bring that knowledge, bring that
mm,
experience home, and help. And so we went home, and 20 years of public service went by pretty quick. And I think we did a lot of re-education. When I say that, I mean bringing back to the forefront our cultural
mm,
teaching, our tradition, and even encouraging our young people to uh, relearn their language.
mm.
So
Yes.
it's been a great ride. Of course, uh, life goes by pretty quick. 20 years of public service went by quick. We
Mhm,
also during that time, met up with the PCRM, Dr.
mhm,
Bernard, the work that they're doing in Navajo tribal communities, and we just elevated that even more.
mhm,
And I truly believe that diabetes on the Navajo Nation is declining. I say that because there are a lot more healthy events here on Navajo than it used to be. More runs, more health and wellness events, and being self-aware of our food intake. And we have the great opportunity to work with you all and PCRM to indigenize, if you want to call it that, some of the concepts that are out there in today's world, and make it to where it's understandable to our tribal members. But I think our tribal members turn around and they say, you know what? We already knew this. This is some of the tradition that was taught and handed down to us before. And so what we have been doing is reincorporating that knowledge into our presentations. And that's what we shared with you there in Rochester, you know, showing the great things that are happening on the Navajo Nation. And, you know, and some of the things that we did actually went into policy and law, you know, first ever, to my knowledge, first ever junk food tax in the country, if not the world, where we raised to about $3 to $4 million a year. We put those dollars back into local communities and do health and wellness projects. And that's one of the reasons and many reasons that I believe the diabetes rate is declining on the Navajo Nation. And we appreciate the Navajo people for sharing with us the teaching that has been handed down from generation to generation. That was what we shared in our presentation, and gave us an opportunity also to share our history of Navajo displacement during the removal era of tribes in this country, and how resilient we are, how we overcame, and how we're still here, and how we have shared the land, and how we also have been a part of making this diverse nation stronger. Do you have anything to add, Phefelia?
I would just add that, you know, it's really, the partnership with PCRM, it started with Navajo, and then now, of course, extending it across the US has been great. Just, you know, just really emphasizes on the disconnect that we've had with food over time, and just the nutritional piece of it. Like when we think about food, I think a lot of times food is anything that's on a shelf or anything that's offered at any cafe or any restaurant, or, you know, we don't think about really the nutritional density, and really, and then of course in the larger system, it would be, you know, who's making the food, how is it being made, and just really just the impact it has to the entire planetary systems, right? And more like the environment. And of course, you think about how much energy and water it takes to produce some of these items. And then, of course, when it does get to you, like just really how it affects our bodies once we take, you know, once we eat it. And it's, so really, I think, the important piece that I always think to get across to, especially tribal communities, is when we share the rates of chronic diseases amongst our peoples, and really the prevention and maybe the reversal of those is something that we really do care about. Having healthy people, we want to see healthy Native American populations across the country, and that's really, I think, the driving force behind all of this.
Yeah, so that will mention that there are a lot of traditions, wisdom in the tribal nations, and I think Jonathan also mentioned about the tribal commodities programs from the federal government that they introduce some food to the tribal nations that impacted the health. So I would like to discuss about the tribal wisdoms, traditions, and that food is life, that the concept, and how you reclaim the food health, nutrition in the tribal nations.
Well, we know food is life, and we also recognize food is medicine. I think that term has been utilized a lot in this country.
Mm-hmm.
But we know in Indian country that concept because it's a holistic approach to health and well-being, taking care of yourself physically, emotional, spiritually. It all is one. And when we were taking off our homelands because of this westward expansion in America and displaced into reservations, that's where the commodity food program really started that we still have today in the USDA. Little do people know. And that was one of the places where the fry bread originated from. So it's all about re-education. We were out in the Denver March powwow. We were at the Gathering of Nations powwow in Albuquerque, and just sharing with non-natives, even natives, that fry bread is a subjugation food. When tribes were taken to different areas, they tried to adapt. They brought some of their seeds. Some of these places didn't have the good soil to grow, so some of those people, our people, were starting to get hungry. Starvation was imminent, but the federal government came in and provided food rations in these displacement areas, these reserves, and they gave them flour, they gave them all sorts of unhealthy foods, and tribal members had to adapt. And one of those adaptation was to fry some of these foods and use some of these foods in a way to survive. And those ingredients were unhealthy. And from that point on, we've seen the federal government having unhealthy foods coming into our community, all processed foods, meats and all. And now, as you said, Dr. J, we're putting our foot down and saying, we demand healthier foods in our communities because in the past we've seen high rates of diabetes and cardiovascular disease, cancers in our community, and some can equate that to the foods that we're eating. And now tribal leaders are pushing back and saying we want some of our own traditional foods to be provided and offered through the federal programs. And that's in a way sovereignty. I know some will say, well, you're getting a handout, right? Tribal leaders, tribal members will see it differently. There were promises that were made, treaties that were signed on to that would say that federal government, if you're ever in a situation where tribes can help, tribes will be at the table to help. And we've done that. If you notice that Native Americans throughout this country of any ethnic group are per capita have served in the armed forces. So we honor those agreements with the federal governments, those treaties that we put in place. On the flip side, the United States, when they were putting these treaties together, they said they were going to help with education, help with health care. And yet today we still have to remind the federal government of those treaty obligations, those promises made. And that also includes food sovereignty. It's not a handout, it's a hand up for a lot of tribal communities to get out of these trying times. And those food programs help tribal members. But again, some very unhealthy foods in the past, but it's slowly getting better because of our relationship, positive relationship that we've developed with federal agencies. And that's where PCRM and you all help us elevate this message. And it's a educational tool to share with Americans what Native Americans have gone through, but not to say that these are poor Native Americans or poor Indigenous peoples. but we also want to elevate that we are retaking our communities, our health, and using the ability to take care of ourselves very seriously. And I believe that is true sovereignty.
Mhm.
Mhm. Well, since we are on this food subject, and then Philias bring up many times about the connection um with the food and where the food come from. I also inspired by um, that your tradition of hand down the seeds from several generations and the resilience from the seeds, also the environment that the tribal nation to grow those seeds and kind of preserve that. And you take you take those with you wherever you travel to. This I mean, despite how far that you travel to, and it's just helped me to see how you really, um, you know, treasure your tradition and history, and continue to teach your next generation. This is us. This is our history, and just from that seat, that is really touching. Um, and also, I want to bring up the help me pronounce that. The what is that called? The Dynase power plate that you developed with the PCRM together, and it is beautiful. Would you please share about this work, and what is your intention, and what do you plan to do?
So that the power plate that was established to really, to the indigenized version of the my plate, to using some of our own indigenous foods, just to show people and to remind them that the healthiest items you still have access to, and you still have the seeds to grow them, and then of
Mhm.
course and they have the knowledge to prepare them. And so, a lot of times, I think when you grow up not in the mainstream society, uh,
Mhm.
it's almost like in the back of our minds to believe that what is in mainstream society in the United States
Mhm.
is almost better, right? It's
Mhm.
and it's and it you really have to research it further to find out that no, not everything is, especially when it comes to the production of food and who controls just about every item that's on a grocery shelf. And that's it's scary to think about, but I mean, it's really true. But that's something that if people knew more about, I think they would realize, what, knowledge is really power. And to
Mhm.
know that we live in a country where we have options, right? We have
Mhm.
the power to have options, which every one of us has now. It's really, I think it just opens up a lot of, all of a sudden you're not just eating what's available to you. Now you can
Mhm.
order things online, you can
Yes.
demand better food in different places, and to share this information. And then, of course, in tribal communities, of course, they don't have access to like numerous supermarkets, or, just they don't, but the things that are available there and the things that they can grow as a community and to even share, because that's how I grew up. I grew about 25 miles to the nearest pavement, and to the nearest supermarket probably another like 60 miles. And so we weren't going to the supermarket every, it was probably a once or twice a week trip that my parents made. But a
Oh.
lot of things that we ate, they were grown amongst our own relatives. And then, as I shared, it was at the symposium. I mean, I grew up just north of the Hopi Mesas, and they grow a lot of their own foods as well. And then that, along with livestock, the grow. So we harvested, and we grew a lot of our own foods, and we saw the preparation of them. We saw, we all ate it, and we knew how they were stored. And it was just a year-round um, activity to be a part of that whole process, and to go from that into the school systems. And then, of course, you get into you move away from that off the tribal communities, and then all of a sudden you're just going into like a fast food place or what's available at the cafeteria.
Yeah.
And so it's very different. But now that, you're out of college and you get into determining, choosing for yourself, and then of course for our families and what we want to put in the house, or what, just to teach them this is something that I think is so powerful. And it's just I guess at the, the macro level, to have this message to share with as many Native American families as we can. I mean, that's just, it's amazing to see the ones who have actually used it to change how they live their lives. Those are powerful testimonies, and it's always wonderful to hear those.
That's a beautiful example of the power plate. Yeah.
So since we're talking about nutrition and then talk about policy, are you seeing more policy being made by the federal government or the tribal nations that will gradually bring back those tribal tradition, tribal wisdom into the food nutrition guidelines? And how you are promoting this nationwide? Because I know you go to a lot of conferences, and so how you work with the federal and other tribal nations?
I guess at the federal level, it was being a part of the U.S. dietary guidelines process for the 2025-2030. Tribal nations have never been allowed to be a part of that process historically. This was the first time that we actually went out and, told as many tribes as we could, tribal organizations, health boards, health organizations, about the process and how they can have their voices heard in the process. And so that's something that, there's no official tribal consultation that's a part of that process. But I think now it's known that this happens every 5 years, and hopefully into the future they'll continue to add their voice into that process. Now, the other items that we've been doing, we've been to a lot of health conferences, presenting at some or tabling at them to share some of this information. And then the other thing that we're planning right now is a conference that we used to have on Navajo Nation, the Nebij Summit. And and I'll give it to Jonathan to talk about it right after I've done. And then bringing in produce distributions, just all fresh vegetables, fruits, and some of these items. It's also another educational aspect to this, because some of the produce distributions that we've done, we've brought in food that people don't normally see or prepare their foods with. But if they were to go into a restaurant, I'm pretty certain that they've eaten it before. They just didn't realize it was in there, right? But yeah, so there's an educational piece to all of this. And the other one is Food for Life. They teach it either online, or it can also be done in person. And on my end, I am actually currently in the certified instructor course right now. So I'll be certified in a couple more months, and looking forward to getting out into the community doing those courses.
Excellent. That's a great program.
I think Jonathan want to update the programs.
The Navajo conference or summit?
Yeah, well, let me go back to the U.S. dietary guidelines for Americans. It was, as you know, this new administration presented their thoughts on the dietary guidelines. They have a different pyramid that was developed, and in the previous discussion where Phefelia brought up, we interjected ourselves. When I say we, the tribal nations, there was no tribal consultation You're supposed to have tribal consultation for all these federal agencies, but not this process. But so tribes interjected ourselves into the process. And what was different about that was first ever, to my knowledge, to our knowledge, that there was a Native American physician on the dietary advisory committee, Dr. Valerie Bluebird Jernigan, and she has done great things in Indian country, great advocate, and working with her and the advisory committee, we were able to elevate our perspective into that process. And there was a lot of discussion. There was some recommendations to take some of our thoughts and into that discussion. But of course, elections happened, and well, those discussions were not carried forward. But we're hopeful. It happens every 5 years. Of course, we will, creator willing, will be a part of that next dialogue and make sure that tribes are at the table to have their input on the U.S. dietary. I think there's a lot of indigenous knowledge that could be shared. I mean, throughout this country, people are wanting to know native knowledge. I mean, it's helping protect our public lands, the traditional knowledge, the ecological knowledge of indigenous people. They're incorporated in that. And I think native nutrition, indigenous nutrition education could help all Americans. Of course, we're the first peoples of this country, right? So they were the first foods of this country, and really the healthiest foods. Now, to your question, Dr. J, let me just first say thank you for having us at the Lotus Health Foundation, the 2025 and 2026 Community of Wellness. Gave us an opportunity to share our worldview and our perspectives and our thoughts with the participants there. And then here again with the Healing Steps to Wellness, this podcast. And so what we're doing, and you mentioned this, May, how can we connect? And we've been able to visit tribes throughout the country, getting their support first on the U.S. dietary guidelines, and then also visiting these tribes and seeing firsthand the good things they're doing in terms of food sovereignty, re-educating their native people. Of course, in Minnesota, you got the Shakopee Nation, just neighbors. On the other state, you have the Ho-Chunk Nation and many others. And I think there's an opportunity to go into these communities and learn a little bit more. I mean, here in the Southwest, we know about the Three Sisters. I think a lot of people know throughout the country the Three Sisters, corn, beans, and squash, but not everybody has the Three Sisters. We got 575 tribes in this country. Some they rely on their food for gathering food. Of course, there's some medicinal elements to that as well. Back to food as medicine. I look forward to learning a lot more from the tribes, and then also sharing that information at this level. And we're going to be doing that here on the Navajo Nation. So I invite you, May, I invite you, Jingyu, to come to the Navajo Nation. We have this
in August.
What's the date?
I think it's 25 and 26.
August 25 and 26. Here at close to the Navajo Nation in Farmington, New Mexico. It's going to be a big event. That's why we had to go a little bit off the Navajo Nation, because they have bigger facilities where we can have these events. We're hopeful we're going to have PCRM. We're hopeful we're going to have Dr. Bernard speak here too, and just share with everyone what the great things that are happening in this country. Maybe there's an opportunity for the both of you to present as well of what you all are doing
Oh, thank you.
in your area. So it's a gathering of people, and the other two, I think there's an opportunity. As I mentioned, Denver March Powwow,
Mm,
the Gathering of Nations Powwow in Albuquerque. These are the large powwows. They have powwows there in Minnesota, surrounding areas, and we took Indigenous nutrition education into these powwows,
Mm.
have breakout
mm,
sessions and talk about indigenous foods. We brought in Chef Walter Whitewater from Pinon, Arizona. We also brought in Chef Lois Ellen
Thank
Frank, sorry, from the Institute for
American Indian Arts.
American Indian Arts. I don't know what I would do without my wife. She's the one who remembers everything. Uh, and yeah, they came in, they did samplings there, and we were able to speak to them. And again, just re-educate. I say re-educate because the education is already in these communities.
Yeah.
It's not educating, it's re-educating, bringing our ways, our culture, our tradition back to the forefront. So I think there's an opportunity there, Dr. J and May, maybe talking to some of the tribes there at their powwows to do some of these types of breakout sessions and nutrition education
Well,
classes. Yeah.
that will be an honor, pleasure to go there in August. They'll bring back a lot of memories because May and I were married in Arizona when we were attending University of Arizona. So the August weather will really bring back the memory.
I think, well, thank you very for very kind invitation. And as Dr. J specializing in the lower extremity, and he always has this dream, would like to have, provide some services in the tribal community, especially for the diabetic conditions. Yes. Yeah. He mentioned that when he was at a school. So yeah, he just waiting for the day and time to have the proper introduction.
So when we talk about the policy and all the your work, are you able to provide some more details on how you work with the tribal nations in Minnesota?
Yeah.
We're in Minnesota, so I'm more interested to know more about what you have been doing here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we do appreciate the Shakopee Nation for providing support for the U.S. dietary guidelines and also reminding the federal government of the nation-to-nation relationship and that treaty obligation. And also, we should be a part of those discussions in tribal consultations. We also visited the Ho-Chunk Nation. We have friends there. And we also wanted to visit the northern tribes as well in Potawatomi and others. We weren't able to do that. In Montana, we did some visits to the Confederate.
Yeah, CT was it Confederated Tribes, Salish and
Kootenai tribes.
Yeah, that's what it is.
There, and we saw their tribal college and visited their food sovereignty program. I mean, they were doing some great, and they're harvesting bitter root and just re-educating their citizens about their traditional food knowledge, which was great to see. I mean, sometimes you get organizations coming into tribal communities thinking that they have the answer for these tribes, and yet the answer is already there. We just have to, bring it back to the forefront. So we even work with the Karuk tribe in California. They harvest acorn. They have it into their traditional meal. So we're learning a lot, you know, and we're a tribe from the Southwest. Tribes are very diverse. 575 tribes throughout the country. We're not all the same, and food is the same way too. And so when we're going into these communities like Minnesota, Michigan, or even Montana, other states, we're learning as we go, and also seeing firsthand the great things they're doing to retake their health. And this is a movement happening all across the country in tribal communities, if not in other communities of color, maybe even overall, pushing back on the standard American diet
Yes.
and retaking our health. And it's a movement, and it's great to be a part of it, and also sharing our ways, our cultural teaching, our tradition in terms of health and well-being. Again, holistic approach to health and well-being.
Yeah.
And I know one of the treaty issues in Minnesota is actually related to wild rice harvest. So I don't know about the detail about that, but I read it in the news a few times. They talk about the treaty and how they could harvest the wild rice. So that's something we can research into.
But Dr. J, don't you remember that we went to that who is a chef in a Twin City that they have the restaurant.
Chef Sherman.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we did try the wild rice syrup.
Yeah.
They are very creative, using all kinds of ingredient to make such a delicacy. So I still remember that.
We also met someone from the White Earth Nation last year, and he was talking about how to harvest wild rice, how you look at the colors, and to know whether it's mature or anything like that. We're just like, wow, I never knew that.
Yeah.
I like the concept of bring back the education to the tribal nation, to the community, but also you also mentioned about to educate and relearn. I mean, the community is being changed in the past through the westernization, and then how we get back to our root culture. And I think this is something resonate with me, that being a Taiwanese, grew up in Asia, we migrate here. And so does the food that we got used to in the beginning, the early stage of our stay in this country. We got used to the Central American set diet. And it took us a while to undo it and disassociate the food that doesn't agree with our body. We saw ourselves had a health transformation, and so that kind of inspired us to want to share more about this nutrition to the people who are struggled with chronic diseases. And I really applaud your work, and I think that you also say very beautifully about the health is not all about the food, but the spiritual and the our emotional health is so important. And a lot of those practice actually coming from our tradition, our culture. We just need to remember how we remind ourselves and to practice that and teach our next generation as well. So that's truly the mind and body all need to come together. One thing doesn't sustain itself. Yeah. So
So in that regard, so I would like to have some insight of your personal reflection on your journey, what you have learned, what you learn, and how you grow as an individual, as a family. Besides serving your tribal nation, what have you learned or what have you gained by that?
Well, over the years in public service, you know, and my story, our story is in the on YouTube, the Navajo Nation Reclaiming the Plate. If you Google that, 10-minute story. If I do it, it's going to take 30 minutes. But if you get a chance, check out that site. I just wanted to just add my own personal health and wellness story. It's not just me or my family. When I was in government, it actually was incorporated into policies and law at the time, because our advocacy for health and wellness followed us into these positions, and we were able to do a lot. One thing that we did that was pretty radical was we banned candy to be handed out at parades on the Navajo Nation. I mean, we have the ability to govern ourselves. We got to take it seriously, and we did it. Now, of course, I got some pushback, but after I explained it, the saying that we spend tens of thousands of dollars of your Navajo money on candy, to hand out to our kids and our people, and yet have high rates of diabetes and cardiovascular disease. That just doesn't make sense. And then the next week, I'm in Congress advocating for more funding to the diabetes program. You see,
Right.
Yeah.
And then what we did was we used those thousands of dollars, and we purchased fresh native produce from our farmers. And then we brought it to the parades, just like candy. We handed them out to our people.
So beautiful.
And we did that constantly throughout the years that we've been in office. And people started learning it. And of course, that ban is now gone. We're not in office anymore, but people talk about it and they miss it. So where's our fresh produce that we used to get, So being consistent was very important. And opening up these beautiful places on the Navajo Nation. We have some beautiful places, as you know, May and Dr. J, on the Navajo Nation. We opened those up to runs and walks, long distance runs, and people now from off tribal lands come to the Navajo Nation to do these activities, and of course joining with our Navajo people to do walks and runs, and we're happy to be a part of that. And of course, the junk food tax. We also did a ban on commercial tobacco in public places and even our casinos. And so we say, Phefelia and I, we say we actually walk the talk. We talked about it and we implemented that, and it was a part of our administration. And today people remember us by that. And then people know that we're plant-based, and then people just kind of roll their eyes at first, but then I tell them my story. And just recently I had I'm 51 now. Well, going to be 51 in a couple weeks, May 26th. And, and in my mind, I'm still feeling like I'm 18, still playing basketball with these young people here, my son too, as well. And, my knee gave out. I tore my ACL playing basketball. And I went down and I had reconstruction surgery. And about 5 to 6 weeks into my recovery, my doctor, my surgeon said, you're healing so fast. What's your secret? And of course I said, well, food is medicine, right? I only eat, plants, vegan. And all he said was, and I hope other physicians notice that, is like, he said, no wonder, And I think physicians are recognizing that too, everywhere, that food is an intricate part of healing. And now I'm back onto the bike. I gained a little weight just sitting around, but I know that getting back onto the cardio, we'll get back to being healthy again. And so got the clear to get back on the bike, and I'm hoping I can start running again, creator willing. to run those long distance runs that we used to do. Here today in Flagstaff, the Cocodona 250 is happening. That's 250 miles of running for 4 or 5 days from close to Phoenix all the way up elevation to through beautiful places like Prescott, up in the Jerome area, to Sedona. Those of you that know Arizona, all the way into Flagstaff, and you would think Flagstaff is the end. No, they take you up to the mountains, the sacred mountains of the tribes here, and you go all the way to the top. You come back down, and you finally finish. And yeah, those are runs that we have, and then maybe one day after the healing, I would love to have an opportunity to be a part of that, and to not only be healthy myself, but also to share. It gives you an opportunity to share your tribe's positive things that they're doing in these types of events. But we do appreciate the time. Do you want to have anything to add on that?
The whole experience with the COVID-19 pandemic, I think that really put an emphasis in people's lives to really start thinking about their access to foods. And really to be prepared should another one occur. I mean, I think that's always in the back of people's minds now, like to have access to clean water, what would they do? But the food piece is really, I think it was brought to the forefront, especially like on Navajo. When you're so rural like that, but you rely on border towns to bring in, that's where you access, get your foods. But then when you no longer you can't be going to the border towns anymore, then what do you resort to? And so I think that really brought this back to the forefront. And then, and families, during that time, Jonathan was out there encouraging them. You have the knowledge, you guys, like this was to the parents, to the grandparents, that they already had this knowledge. Like you guys still had the seeds, you still had the ability to grow like some of your own foods. And so that was something that I thought was a good thing that came out of that. And of course, the family bonding. A lot of times in our, in current contemporary life, we all have these little gadgets, right? There's a true disconnect. I think that that does happen even within a home. And so when we were told to quarantine, a lot of families, I think that's the first time they probably spent more than 24 hours together, and to be told to stay there together for a long period of time. Hopefully there's some healing that took place. And then of course, but the sharing of knowledge and the sharing of skills, sharing of stories. I mean, we're very, our histories were passed down orally. So we're storytellers. And so to give elders a chance to import some of their knowledge and into the younger generation, I think that's something that was that's something that every youth should be grateful for, because otherwise everybody was too busy to really spend time together.
Isn't that something that always is something positive when a situation like this, and then we all get more family time to bond together. And that definitely. And for us to slow down, to think about, think about something that positive that we can do, and the stress, how to distress, or take this time to distress. Well,
I was going to say, I also do a lot in the early childhood arena, and to think about families like that. I mean, just time for them to really reconnect and bond with one another. I think it also brings out the fact that, it's the simple things, the basic things that kids are going to remember. And when you create a place where they feel safe and where they feel loved, I mean, that they're going to remember that. And of course, for all of us, I think we all remember the foods that we grew up with and who prepared them, and, just how they were presented. And so I hope that the adults in every family or whoever prepares the food, that they realize just how much power they have in that, because these are recipes and what was on the plate, what we're served at all these dinners, and that's something that everybody takes with them through the rest of their lives.
Right, right. And so that kind of bring back to one comment you shared at a conference is always set a gratitude the beginning of the day. And actually throughout the day, the end of the day, we also have the send a gratitude to all the healthy food or the people, wonderful people around us, and the wonderful things that we are able to do together and to share as well. So yeah, that mindfulness practice is also important to remind us to slow down.
Yeah.
That's what, yeah. Okay, well, Dr. J, I think we take up a lot of Jonathan and Fephelia's time today. It is so wonderful to relearn, reconnect, and also and then to have some reflection of what we discussed before. And thank you very much for the opportunity that we can deep dive further today. Now, Dr. J, would you like to, how do people get a hold of you? How you want to be connected?
Well, we have a website. It's Nez Consulting LLC,
Mm-hmm.
NEZ Consulting LLC.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can just Google my name, Jonathan Nez or Phefelia Nez. There's a website there. You can
And we'll put a link on there.
share with us your what you all are doing in your community and maybe how we can help as well.
Absolutely.
We were just in Washington, D.C. this past week, and we spoke at a early childhood education summit, national summit, and talking about Native American communities and how important it is to share our culture or knowledge, even language, to our youngest from 0 to 5. And of course, nutrition education is important to share with our younger generation. Because some of us adults were set in our ways, right? But here we have an opportunity to share with our younger folks about nutrition, and we don't get that type of information at an early age. And so, those are things that we're trying to encourage people to do. I mean, there's already movements that are happening doing that, but we just gave the Native American Navajo perspective on that at that conference. And Chef Sherman is doing some great work as well. Visit Chef Sherman. Awamni, his location in Minneapolis has changed now to a different area.
I saw the news.
Theater.
We ate there. We also did, if you do a Google of me, there's a video of us doing a cooking segment on Chef Sherman's
Indigenous food labs.
Indigenous food labs. Little humor in there between Phefelia and I. She made her world famous
minestrone stew. Yes, I watched that. It's very interesting. And that was well done.
Great. Yeah. Well, thank you again for joining us today. Well, such an honor again to have you both on our podcast. Yeah. Okay. So thank you for joining us on Healing Steps to Wellness. I'm Dr. J.
I'm May.
Guiding you toward whole person health, one step
and one bite at a time.
See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.